Hi everyone and welcome to this video. Now on this channel I've spoken about many ways of stopping yourself from gambling, preventing yourself from gambling when that urge strikes. And universally I have said that the least effective way of stopping yourself from gambling when the urge strikes is using willpower. Willpower is relatively powerless in most instances against an addiction that is as powerful as a gambling addiction. There are many ways to prevent yourself from gambling, and I've talked about them in many of my videos, but willpower in most instances simply won't cut the mustard. However, anecdotally we all know that one person, don't we? We all know that one person who had a habit. Maybe it was drinking, maybe it was smoking, and they decided on one particular day that they were going to stop partaking in that habit. They were going to kick this habit, they were going to kick this addiction to the curb using solely willpower. And this one person, this one anomaly, normally someone in the pub, succeeded, and they never smoked again. It's nearly always smoking, but people have said it about gambling and drinking. I've heard about all sorts of things. There are these superhuman beings out there that make up their mind, and solely using willpower, they never partake in that addictive activity again. And fair play to them. Can't argue with that whatsoever. However, with gambling addiction has a friend. And if gambling addiction happens to stumble across one of these particularly resilient individuals who has extraordinary, superhuman willpower to resist that urge, gambling has a friend, and that friend is alcohol. Now I'll bore you with the science bit first of all. Alcohol is an anesthetic, it's a poison. And when we say alcohol helps us sleep, actually what alcohol helps us do is shut down substantial parts of our body until our body goes to sleep to protect itself. What your body will do when you start to poison it with alcohol is it will start to shut off less essential parts of your body, and that includes less essential parts of your brain. Now your brain has a conscious part and a subconscious part, or an unconscious part. The unconscious part is by far and away the most important part. This is the part that not only gives you motor functions, enabling you to walk and talk and, act like a human, it also keeps vital bodily functions going. It's the bit of your brain that tells you to breathe in and out. It's the bit of your brain that tells your heart to beat regularly. Without that subconscious part of your brain, you would die almost instantly. So when you start to poison your body with alcohol, and your body needs to start shutting bits down to basically protect itself from dying and to keep the essential functions running, the first bit of your brain that it will get rid of, before it starts getting rid of your motor skills, which is when you start falling over, is it will start getting rid of your conscious part of your brain. There's a particular conscious part of your brain which enables rational thought. And that is why, after a few beers, you may still be able to walk, you may still be able to talk, you may still be able to control your bodily functions. But, the rational thinking part of your brain will go, which is why people lose their inhibitions when they've been drinking. It can be fun, it can be funny to onlookers, and it can be the reason why you text your ex. It can be the reason why you buy that Rolls Royce on eBay. But it can be the reason, that trigger that makes you think, sod it, I'm going to have 20 quid in the fruit machine. And yes, all the three of those above have happened to me whilst under the influence of alcohol. I may tell the Rolls Royce story in a date, but yes, they've all happened to me under the influence of alcohol. And this is why when you get someone who has particularly good willpower, that is able to, under 97%, 98%, whatever of instances, resist that urge to gamble because they've stopped gambling, Gambling will wheel in its good friend alcohol to disable the logical, rational, sensible part of your brain. That's the part of the brain that controls the willpower, and you will more than likely succumb to urges you may otherwise have been able to resist. So what do? Well, firstly, you shouldn't be relying on willpower in the first place. And this is speaking from someone who has told himself hundreds of times probably in the past, I'm not gambling anymore, and thought willpower alone would do it. It won't. So you need to have other blocks in place. You need to have other measures in place. And when you do this, well, you have to do this before you start drinking. If you have a night out planned and you know that there's a possibility, or you will have at some point access to a form of gambling, you need to make sure that you have blocks in place excuse me, to block that potential once you have started consuming alcohol. Now for me, back when I was gambling at my worst, this was quite difficult because I tended to gamble on automated types of gambling, so predominantly fruit machines and in bookmakers. I also gambled online, but predominantly most of my gambling was done on fruit machines and in bookmakers on the fob tees. So when I was out drinking, particularly if I was in town, I was never more than a couple of 100 yards from a bookies, and I was never less than 10 yards from a fruit machine in most instances. So I had to be clever, and what I had to do was not take out cash. Go out purely on the basis that I would pay for everything with my card. Now, of course, I would be able to get cash out, but this is one thing that I could do to prevent that instant, I'm going to put 10 quid in the fruit machine, that mentality, that instant urge. So that was one thing I would do. I would, at the beginning of the night, as I mentioned this in several of my previous videos, I would tell my friends to not let me gamble. Now, let's face it, your friend's resolve is pretty much as flimsy as your own when it comes to alcohol. So once you've all started drinking, they're not going to tell you to stop, and you might just start, if anything, it's going to start an argument. So do it in a different way. Tell them that you're not gambling that night. Bet them you're not going to gamble. Obviously don't bet them money because that goes in the face of everything, but bet them a pint. Tell them you'll pay for their beer for the rest of the evening, or buy them the kebab on the way home if they catch you playing a fruit machine, if they catch you sneaking off to the bookies. And they'll be on the lookout for you then, because they'll want that free pint and that free kebab, the Indian, whatever you're going to pay for at the end of the night. And plus, if you've told them you've got a gambling problem, and swallow your bloody pride and do it, and that you have to stop gambling, you don't want to be that one who's failed in your efforts to stop gambling. You don't want to be the weak-willed, oh look, there's the same old Phil gambling again. You don't want to be that person. You want to be the person that sticks to what you said you're going to do. So make sure you do that. Now back in the day, that was pretty much all you had to do. You had to stay off. If you went out on the beer and you didn't want to gamble, you had to put measures in place to make sure you couldn't gamble on the fruit machine. Now obviously there's the bookies, but then also you can bet online. There's the online casinos, not only while you're out, which not only is very dangerous because you go on your phone and gamble, but also it's incredibly antisocial to be sat at a table watching your phone, playing roulette or whatever. So what do you do then? Well, if you're currently gambling, firstly I would suggest you put self-exclusions on all your online betting accounts. But in this case, if you're not ready to do that for whatever reason, and I'm not here to obviously judge anyone, then put a call-off period on it. Put 24 hours. Because not only will that stop you being antisocial and gambling on your phone while you're out, it will also stop you from having an urge once you get in and you're a bit pissed up. It will stop you having the urge to open the laptop and deposit a quick 50 quid, which when you're drunk will turn into a quick whatever you got in your bank account. So put temporary call-off periods on all of your betting accounts. Make sure you're signed up. Obviously this has to be done in advance, but make sure you're signed up to a bank account which doesn't allow gambling transactions or allows you to block gambling transactions. Now I use Monzo, but a lot more of these banks are actually doing this. Maybe if you're contemplating a night out tonight, or whenever you see this video, give your bank a call, go on their website and see if there's an option to put this block on your card. because that will A, stop you going in the bookies and using it, and B, if you have put the other blocks in place, it will stop you signing up for another betting account when you get home in your drunken state. There are lots and lots of ways of doing this, and I'll go into more detail in my other videos. But my point is, even if you think you have rock solid willpower, even if historically you've been able to resist the urges, alcohol will take care of that willpower very, very quickly. So before you even have your first drink, before you start getting ready, putting your glad rags on, if I'm going to show my age, then make sure your blocks for that night are in place. So not only while you're out, but when you get home as well, you're not going to be able to gamble. And trust me, that way you're only going to be waking up with the alcohol hangover the next day and not the gambling hangover as well. And yeah, I know which one I can deal with a lot more easily. Give me an alcohol hangover any day of the week. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Like the video, drop us a comment, do all of that good stuff. And yeah, cheers guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. See you soon.